New Zealand, and Chile. And with all of this newfound power, Republicans and the ultra-wealthy are now looking at cutting the social safety net, which at least 70 million Americans rely on in some form.
Nothing is sacrosanct. Nothing. They're going to put everything on the table.
That's what they told lawmakers. Everything is on the table, and that includes Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid.
We're going to have some hard decisions. We got to bring the Democrats in and talk about Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare. There's hundreds of billions of dollars to be saved, and we know how to do it. We just have to have the stomach to actually take those challenges on.
John Thune, who is the Senate incoming Republican leader, who also met with Elon Musk this morning, told me that perhaps mandatory programs are areas that they're looking to make cuts in, like Social Security.
I can promise you that come 2025, spending reform will be a top priority for our new Republican majority. And they're not going to be easy conversations, but they are essential for our long-term survival.
Trump won the election in part by pitching himself as a populist, a champion, if you will, for the working class. But now he and his billionaire buddies are looking to cut taxes for themselves and to slash the safety net for everyone else. Looks like bucks for me, but not for thee. Joining me now is Molly Jong-Fast, special correspondent for the Vanity Fair, and Teddy Schleifer from the New York Times. He co-wrote the piece in the Times on Elon's spending. My thanks to both of you for getting us started. Molly, look, we're going to have billionaires running the government while Republicans look to slash the social safety net. This ain't any kind of populism I've ever read about.
No, and I think we all sort of saw this coming, right? We saw Project 2025. The plans in there are trying to not fund the federal government. And if you look at the appointment of Russ Vought in the OMB, like there's clearly a lot of plans here to cut the federal government off at the knees. But remember, Trump was elected because he said that he was going to make things less expensive.
Teddy, you know Elon Musk, but you also know the billionaire class pretty well. Have you ever seen spending at this magnitude from one person in an election cycle?
I mean, look, not the first time that someone's going to put a lot of zeros at the end of a check here. I think what was striking about Musk's involvement this cycle was just how kind of hot and fast this came. This is not somebody who has donated a lot of money to Republican politics in the past. Like, you know, another big donor this cycle has been Miriam Adelson. We're not talking about her because Miriam Adelson and her late husband donated hundreds of millions of dollars to Republican politicians all the time. I think what was new was you had somebody who at the beginning of this year, based on our reporting, was very lukewarm about Donald Trump, who was, didn't like Joe Biden, to be sure, but suddenly, putting in $270 million is what the final bill ended up being for Musk. That money came really late, really fast, and now, he's basically kind of helping oversee this presidential transition in a way that you would think that Elon and Donald Trump have been best friends for years. Really, they just got to know each other this year.
So, Teddy, what's the larger impact, though, of billionaires collectively having this much of an impact on democracy and the outcome of elections? Yeah,
look, I mean, I think the outcome is what we're seeing happen right now. Right now at the Trump transition headquarters over the last couple of weeks, it hasn't just been Elon Musk who's been playing this big role in the transition, steering, picking other billionaires at times for those gigs. All of Musk's friends are very involved in this transition. The payoff, so to speak, is the access, the influence. I don't believe that Elon Musk got involved in this presidential election because of that. When you talk to Elon and his friends, he genuinely believes that American democracy was at stake. He's obviously very concerned about immigration, about crime. But it is also true that the payoff is extraordinary. And Musk, you point out his net worth going way up. The reason why it's going way up is because people think that Tesla and SpaceX and XAI, his artificial intelligence company, are going to be heavily advantaged by their relationship to Trump, and they probably will be.
Yeah, but Molly, isn't that just the glaring problem here when it comes to the prospective conflicts of interest? Not only is it the idea that these wealthy people in service in the American government would have to divest themselves, and maybe put some of their interests, their financial interests, in blind trust. But to Teddy's point, I mean, Musk bought access. I mean, he may have had to write a big check for it, but he bought access, and it's going to benefit his bottom line, and it's not going to benefit the bottom line of the American citizens. The median net worth of an American family is $192,900, according to the Federal Reserve back in 2023. That's definitely not billionaire status.
Yeah, no, I mean, the whole thing is not how any of this is supposed to work. And the reason that we have these ethics laws are because the idea is that when you are a public servant, you serve the public and not yourself. And we see here Donald Trump or at least the theory that a lot of people have is that Donald Trump will stick his finger on the scale and pick the winners and losers, which is not how even, it's not supposed to work with the public markets either. And I mean, I think we're going to see I think all of us want that not to happen, but it certainly feels like that is the recipe for corruption and disaster and not how any of this is supposed to go.
Well, Teddy, this is not anything new, though. I mean, we've seen an administration with Donald Trump at the helm. I mean, if there was emoluments clause violations every other week, that's exactly what was going on. And any existing guardrails we saw before are clearly been eradicated, especially when you stack with loyalists. And so, Teddy, what's the landscape looking then? Is it just going to be 4 years of Trump's billionaire buddies feeding at the trough?
Look, I think I don't know is the answer. We don't exactly know how long the marriage between kind of Musk and Trump will last. We don't really know what Elon's kind of policy wish list looks like. I mean, right now during the transition, Musk is almost manic about the need for government reform. He was in D.C. yesterday, kind of working on his government efficiency panel, and he believes that he can cut $2 trillion from the federal budget, which obviously is difficult, but look, he has the energy of a rookie here, right? And that's good and bad, right? I mean, there is ambition, that's for sure. He has lots of bright people from the tech industry who want to get involved, and when you talk with kind of Musk allies, they love to pepper in references to the best and the brightest and the team of rivals, and choose your presidential historical reference here. But the downside of being a rookie is, and maybe I'm not trying to be overly cynical here, but politics is hard, right? Policy is hard, and just because you have created a lot of value in the startup world or in manufacturing or in electric vehicles does not mean that it is easy to, help find trillions of dollars in federal savings. And what exactly Musk is going to be pushing for and what these other wealth people are going to be pushing for might be pretty idiosyncratic. It's not just going to be, Miriam Adelson wanting the embassy moved from Jerusalem to Tel Aviv, as she did during her term, during the Trump's first term. That was pretty clear and evident. What this new group of tech billionaires want, we don't exactly know yet, and that's partially because they're so new. This is their first time being so close to the throne.
Okay, I don't think JV people should have their first at bat with our American government, our democracy. And I also think, Teddy, they're going to want to have more zeros added. But I also would say Elon Musk, he's shown what he can do with Twitter/X and exactly the value of that and what it is now. Molly, listen to Elon Musk talk about cutting waste. Teddy mentioned that, how much they want to cut. Cutting waste in the government, but how it would actually lead to hardship. Take a listen.
We have to reduce spending to live within our means. That necessarily involves some temporary hardship, but it will ensure long-term prosperity.
Molly, the collective wealth of this Trump cabinet is at least, and that's I'm going to underscore, at least $10 billion. I really don't think anybody that's not a part of that billionaire class is sitting there understanding that these people understand what hardship means in order to ensure long-term prosperity.
Yeah, it's just wild. And the other thing I think it's important to realize is this is all so that they can protect the Trump tax cuts, right? Because the Trump tax cuts will expire in 2025. So this is not even Like the idea that this has to happen, that they have to cut these things. No, they can just, the tax cuts can expire. We can raise taxes on the wealthiest people, which is what the Harris world wanted to do before. We can raise corporate taxes. I mean, just the whole idea that the only way to do this is to cut Social Security and Medicare and food stamps for poor kids. I mean, this is just completely a made up problem. And when you look at their plan, they will only cut spending. They will not raise taxes. I mean, look, if you're going to do it that way, then, okay. But the idea that a bunch of billionaires are going to raise taxes or cut, they're not going to raise taxes, actually. They're going to cut these programs, these social programs, so that they can have lower taxes. I mean, I don't know how they sell this to the American people.
Well, they sold it. There's no bait and switch, Molly Jong-Fast and Teddy Schleifer, because it was all out there for the people to vote for. My thanks to both of you for getting us started tonight. I appreciate it. And coming up, what some GOP senators are saying privately behind closed doors about the Pete Hegseth nomination. Also, 2 experts on the fierce debate about whether Joe Biden should issue preemptive pardons to people that are on Trump's enemies list. Plus, Barack Obama's new advice about preserving democracy.
In a democracy, power comes from forging alliances and building coalitions and making room in those coalitions, not only for the woke, but also for the waking.
And by the end of the hour, SNL stars will dish about those legendary after parties.
My hair got stuck on Woody Harrelson's sweater button for 20 minutes and we couldn't pull it apart. And then David Blaine came over and ate a wine glass.
All of that and more when we're back in just 90 seconds.
Do your dry eyes still feel gritty, rough, or tired? With Mybo, eyes can feel Mybo. Mybo is the only prescription dry eye drop that forms a protective layer for the #1 cause of dry eye, too much tear evaporation. For relief, that's Mybo. Remove contact lenses before using Mybo. Wait at least 30 minutes before putting them back in. Eye redness and blurred vision may occur. What does treating dry eye differently feel like? Mybo. For relief that feels Mybo. Ask your eye doctor about prescription Mybo.
I've been warned by celebrities, athletes, and world leaders. But I've always felt most comfortable up here with the folks that made me who I am. I'm right at home, out here on the land. And I'm in my lane, on the shoulder of the interstate. Because this is where I come from. I've been showing up here for nearly 200 years, and I can't wait to see what's next.
Hats off to the future.
Nothing runs like a deer.
Give the Omaha Steaks favorite gift package that includes bacon-wrapped filet mignon, chicken, burgers, franks, sides, and desserts for just $89.99. You'll save 64%. Order now to get 4 free burgers. Visit omahasteaks.com/TV.
We believe that Pete Hegseth is the right guy to lead the Department of Defense. That's why President Trump nominated him. We're not abandoning this nomination.
Vice President-elect J.D. Vance on Capitol Hill today, affirming his support for embattled Defense Secretary nominee Pete Hegseth. It comes as Donald Trump claims that Hegseth is doing, quote, very well, despite the multiple allegations of misconduct that have dogged his nomination. Democratic Senator Richard Blumenthal saying that Hegseth is facing a fight even amongst Republicans.
I've talked to 5 to 10 Republicans who have said to me they're just waiting for the right moment to say no to Pete Hegseth, and for very good reasons.
Why do you think so few Republicans, none by my count, have been willing to come out and say they will definitively not support this nominee?
Nobody wants to defy Donald Trump if you're a Republican.
Many Republicans are too scared to cross Donald Trump, though there is obvious and understandable concern. Hegseth can only afford to lose 3 GOP votes if all Democrats unite to oppose him. Trump reportedly, though, turning a blind eye. The Washington Post reporting that despite his public remarks behind the scenes, Hegseth has been told not to expect Trump to apply pressure to Republican senators. Hegseth has vowed to keep fighting, But the lack of enthusiasm for his nomination is starting to show, even in right-wing media.
Pete Hegseth says the president-elect is still behind him, but we're not aware of any calls that Trump has made to senators to push his nomination forward.
He hasn't done nearly enough for MAGA to warrant the Department of Defense job. And he's got serious baggage. Serious baggage. Pete is blackmailable.
Joining me now is Hugo Lowell, investigations reporter with The Guardian, covering all things in Washington and Donald Trump. Hugo, it's good to see you. What are you hearing? Because I know it's maybe a little different than what we're hearing. What are you hearing from your sources about the future of Pete Hegseth's nomination?
Yeah, if you talk to the Trump aides who are working on the Hegseth nomination, they're very clear that they haven't had 3 no's yet, which obviously is the threshold at which point his nomination becomes unviable. And I think that's giving them some optimism. And, you know, you do hear and you do see the fact that Trump is not expending political capital on Pete's behalf. He's not making calls himself to senators. But Pete Hegseth does have a pretty strong team behind him who are working the senators in their own way. And that team is a bit mishmash of both. It's people from J.D. Vance's world, so they have a lot of Senate Republican connections, but it's also people from Don Jr.'s world. So when we say that Trump himself is not, you know, actively pushing, well, Don Jr. is, and his guys are, and they've been taking a bunch of meetings with senators in recent weeks. And I think the picture that is being reported back to Trump's transition HQ at Mar-a-Lago is, for now at least, Hegseth appears to have a path to confirmation, and for that reason, Trump should just hold tight and stay with Hegseth.
Okay, but Hugo, why and I'll call it a circling of wagons, even though it has not been that overt. Why a circling of wagons around somebody like Pete Hegseth, who has, as Greg Kelly, I can't believe I'm agreeing with Greg Kelly, but has so much serious baggage? Why do that for somebody like Pete Hegseth, but Matt Gaetz just floats in the wind and his nomination goes bye-bye?
That was the interesting thing about what Senator Blumenthal was saying in that clip you just played, because we talk a lot about how, you know, Republican senators probably ultimately will bend the knee to Trump, and then Trump will probably, instill a lot of fear in these senators, and they don't want to come out and say that they're not going to vote for his nominee. Well, they did for Matt Gaetz, and they did come out and say, you know, we're not going to deal with Matt Gaetz. We don't like him. We don't like his background. There has been less overt resistance to Pete Hegseth in that same vein. I think the one interesting difference has been with Joni Ernst, who is obviously a prominent, female Republican herself, has spoken out against sexual assault that she experienced. And so she has been a priority for the Hegseth team to try and convince. Our reporting tonight is they are trying to find an off-ramp with her so that she can get some concessions out of Hegseth, some promises out of Hegseth if he were to become the defense secretary, and in return she would support his confirmation. So there's still a lot of horse trading going on, and I think it would be a mistake to write him off quite just yet.
So Hugo, Pete Hegseth actually said, and I want to make sure that I quote this properly, he said something, he said that he's willing to do, he would much rather do the public confirmation hearing, that he has no fears about doing that. And in an incredibly insulting, I think, comparison, he was like, oh, it's the same thing as the Brett Kavanaugh confirmation hearings. I'm not saying that it was an insult to Brett Kavanaugh. I think it's an insult to the victims of Brett Kavanaugh. But does Pete Hegseth seriously think that a public confirmation hearing would actually end up being a better forum for which people are going to express their concerns? I mean, it's not just the allegations of sexual assault. It's the allegations of drinking problems. It's the allegations of financial malfeasance when he's been the head of various organizations. I mean, it's not just limited. It's like a buffet of sin that Pete Hegseth is being accused of.
A buffet of sin, yeah. Well, look, there's definitely some bluster there, but you also got to see it from his team's perspective as well, which is, right now they are taking a lot of incoming and a lot of negative headlines. And what has developed in the last 24 hours is his legal team has gone out and now said, well, some of these accusers, if they come forward at a Senate confirmation hearing and what they say are lies and spread lies about Pete Hegseth, we will sue them. And so now they're effectively threatening litigation against some of these potential witnesses who might come before the Senate Judiciary Committee or other senators and meet with them and say, Pete Hegseth did this to me or did that to me, or I saw him acting in this inappropriate way. With that threat of litigation hanging over their head, the bet appears to be that they don't want to subject themselves to that. And for that reason, they may not come forward or they may not be as forthcoming. And so under the glare of the spotlight, if it's a battle of wits, Pete Hegseth's team, for now at least, seems to think that Pete would win that battle. And that's where that confidence is coming from. It's a little perverse, actually, but that's where the confidence is coming from.
It's not perverse. It's disgusting that the threat of defamation litigation would be something to try to silence people, which we know that he had a non-disclosure agreement signed when he did settle the allegations that were made by that woman in California. Hugo Lowell, thanks for being here, and thanks for your insight on what's going on with that nomination. And still ahead, our deep dive into whether Joe Biden should issue preemptive pardons to protect people from Trump's retribution. And later in the show, Barack Obama's vision for protecting and expanding democracy.
Home is where the heart is. It's also the place where it can be broken.
Some bad news. It's Jamie's ship. It was lost at sea. I can protect you, but you must marry me.
What happens now?
Humana Medicare Advantage plans. Carry this card, and you could have the power to unlock benefits beyond Original Medicare. These are convenient plans that offer all of the benefits of Original Medicare, plus extra coverage and benefits. With a Humana Medicare Advantage plan, you could get doctor, hospital, and prescription drug coverage in one convenient plan, with $0 copays on hundreds of prescriptions. Most plans include dental coverage, including $0 copays for covered preventive services, vision coverage with eye exams, and an allowance for eyewear, even hearing benefits with routine hearing exams and coverage toward hearing aids. That's more than you get with Original Medicare. But it gets even better because Humana offers $0 or low monthly plan premiums. You'll also get $0 copays for routine vaccines at in-network retail pharmacies, $0 copays for telehealth visits, and $0 copays for in-network preventive services. Plus, worldwide coverage for emergency and urgent care when you travel. And Medicare Advantage plans ensure your covered medical costs, including all doctor and emergency care, will never go above a maximum out-of-pocket amount that you know beforehand. Imagine benefits like these in one convenient plan. Plus, you'll have access to Humana's multiple large plan networks of doctors, hospitals, and pharmacies. So if you want more from Medicare, call now to see if there's a plan in your area that could give you extra coverage and benefits, including coverage for doctor, hospital, and prescription drugs, plus a cap on your out-of-pocket medical costs. And most plans include coverage for dental, vision, even hearing. A knowledgeable, licensed Humana sales agent will explain your coverage options, even help you enroll over the phone. Call today and we'll also send this free guide. But now is the time. The annual enrollment period ends December 7th. Humana, a more human way to healthcare.
For more than a decade, Farxiga has been trusted again and again and again.
Farxiga.
Ask your doctor about Farxiga.
If you're shopping for a home, Realtor.com's Real Commute tool lets you find homes close to work, school, even grandma's house.
Don't all apps do that?
Not really. Trust the #1 app real estate professionals trust.
This bakery needs new equipment fast to keep up with demand, so they're going
institutions, lawyers. We are people that believe that the rule of law should protect democracy and function. But if we're honest with each other right now, we have to admit that what Kim just talked about, the idea that these are going to be protective pardons, these idea that you actually have to do something more drastic than normally you would have considered, that this is exactly where we are. The landscape has changed.
No, I think that's exactly right. And I think Kim put it nicely when she was suggesting that unprecedented times maybe call for somewhat unprecedented measures. You know, the idea of pardoning people who haven't committed any crimes, whatsoever might seem a little bit strange. But so too is ushering in a term of an FBI director and attorney general whose mission might be to exact political retribution on any of the president's perceived enemies. And so I think many of the concerns about the prospect of preemptive pardons, like politicizing pardons or politicizing the rule of law in the Department of Justice, like that's kind of water over the bridge at this point. And the question is how to protect those individuals who have just been trying to do their jobs and uphold the rule of law at this point.
Kim, let's kind of dial back the pages of history a little bit here. Any precedent for this idea of a blanket preemptive pardon?
Well, it would be Richard Nixon. His pardon by Gerald Ford was for all activities that could have given rise to an indictment relating to Watergate. There was reportedly an indictment in the works, but it did not include what the prosecutors thought were all of the criminal activity that arose from the Watergate tapes and other things. And also you can look, I mean, this is slightly different, but you can look at Jimmy Carter's pardon of Vietnam draft dodgers, which was broad. It didn't list the individuals. It just listed a time period and encapsulated that group of individuals without having specified indictments and specified claims or causes of action, crimes, et cetera. The pardon power is extremely broadly worded, and the Supreme Court hasn't weighed in that much on it, except this summer with a black Sharpie calling it core and suggesting that even crimes committed using the pardon power were above the law. So I think a Biden pardon, consistent with those historical precedents, the Supreme Court, even this far-right majority that it seems to be quite sympathetic to Donald Trump, would be hard-pressed to second-guess it or declare that kind of action unconstitutional, in my view.
Leah, how do we manage the critics that say, oh, this is opening a can of worms, a future Pandora's box wherein it just becomes pro forma that an outgoing president will just issue a blanket preemptive pardon for a vast swath of people who legitimately probably committed some crimes. I'm not talking about the ones that Biden would do. I'm talking about the ones that Trump would do. And that would just become this repetitive thing that's going to happen with every administration, regardless of political party.
I think that is also water over the bridge at this point. You know, the idea that anything Joe Biden is going to do right now is going to be the cause behind Trump's further politicization of the rule of law and undermining the Department of Justice is, I think, a little odd. You know, Donald Trump has already used the pardon power to undermine the rule of law. You know, he pardoned Roger Stone, and then Stone, of course, went on to help participate in the Stop the Steal and orchestrating, the movement, right, to try to undermine the results of the presidential election. So Donald Trump has already used the pardon power to further his political ends and reward cronies. And so the idea that Joe Biden, issuing pardons to protect those federal officials who attempted to uphold the rule of law would somehow cause Donald Trump to corrupt the Department of Justice and rule of law, I think is a little bit difficult to take.
Yeah, and Kim, I mean, look, you don't have to accept the pardon, right? I mean, so if it's offered by Joe Biden and there's people like that Adam Schiff, for example, are like, I don't think you should do it, doesn't mean that Adam Schiff necessarily has to accept it.
No, the Supreme Court's made really clear you can reject a pardon. I think if this does come down, there'll be a big question. Are there enumerated the names of folks? And if they are put in a list, could that trigger some retribution from sort of the trolls and, that sort of right-wing energy that Joe Biden would be trying to protect against? If it's more of a Jimmy Carter pardon, that you just give a time frame and a definition of who would fall under that, I don't think there would need to be a formal acceptance. The question would come up if Donald Trump went ahead and prosecuted people within that definition anyway, then they would come up and say, listen, I fall within that pardon. And so the indictment or the subpoena should be quashed, the indictment should be dismissed. So it's possible, I think, to have that broad pardon and not have everyone step up now and say no, or yes or no, although that's not foreclosing later an argument by Team Trump that, listen, that's not a valid pardon because it wasn't accepted while Biden was still president. But as you know, the creative learning that's happened on the Trump team has really demolished a lot of the Constitution. I mean, the notion that we're talking about the 22nd Amendment even tolerating a third term, there's always cute ways of interpreting ambiguous language. And I agree with Leah that what Joe Biden does now is not going to foreclose any of that down the road. We just have to hope if he does do this, that the Supreme Court would side with the rule of law and the idea that people that do their jobs and follow the Constitution should not be, criminally prosecuted later.
I concur. Thanks for the sanity and the sane conversation. Leah Littman and Kim Whaley, I appreciate you guys. Thanks for being here. Again, everybody go out and get Kim's book, Pardon Power. It's out now to read. Still ahead, new clues as a massive manhunt unfolds for the gunman who shot a healthcare executive in Midtown Manhattan. But first, President Obama's first public comments since Donald Trump retook the White House.
Hey, grab more delectables. You know, that lickable cat treat.
Delickable delectables.
Yes. Just hurry.
Must be delicious.
Delectables, lickable treat. Deliciously delectable delectables.
Deck the turkey with gravy and fixings. Fa la 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 la.
Dad, we are at a restaurant.
'Tis the season for ham and pork roast. Fa la 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 la.
Good thing I forgot my hearing aid.
We wish you a life.
Wow. This Charmin Ultra Soft Smooth Tear has wavy edges that tear so much better. I'm starting to get tearied away.
Designed with smooth tear edges, Charmin Ultra Soft Smooth Tear has wavy perforations that tear so much better for a smooth, more enjoyable go. Plus, it has more cushiony softness than ordinary squares. Try Charmin Ultra Soft Smooth Tear, voted #1 product of the year.
Your shipping manager left to find themselves, leaving you lost. You need to hire.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Sponsored jobs on Indeed are 2.5 times faster to first hire. Visit Indeed.com/hire.
Attention, everyone on Medicare. This is it. The Medicare annual enrollment period is now ending. Time is up. This is your last chance to call during the Medicare annual enrollment period. Everyone on Medicare is encouraged to call now, even if you called last year. The phone lines are now open. Just call 800-781-2107 now. This is the last call for the Medicare annual enrollment period. The phone lines may get busy. Licensed insurance agents are standing by to take your call. The Medicare annual enrollment period is ending. Just call the number on your screen and get a free, no-obligation Medicare review. This is a free call, and there is no obligation to enroll. That's right. You can call the number on your screen, and you don't have to enroll in a plan. This is your last chance to call during the Medicare annual enrollment period. Time is up. Don't wait. Call now. Just call 800-781-2107 now. That's 800-781-2107. Attention, everyone on Medicare. This is it. The Medicare annual enrollment period is now ending. Time is up. This is your last chance to call during the Medicare annual enrollment period. Everyone on Medicare is encouraged to call now, even if you called last year. The phone lines are now open. Just call 800-781-2107 now. This is the last call for the Medicare annual enrollment period. The phone lines may get busy. Licensed insurance agents are standing by to take your call. The Medicare annual enrollment period is ending. Just call the number on your screen and get a free, no-obligation Medicare review. This is a free call, and there is no obligation to enroll. That's right. You can call the number on your screen, and you don't have to enroll in a plan. This is your last chance to call during the Medicare annual enrollment period. Time is up. Don't wait. Call now. Just call 800-781-2107 now. That's 800-781-2107.
Start your day with Nature Made, the #1 pharmacist-recommended vitamin and supplement brand.
We need a small business loan fast.
I got this.
Loan cannon!
There's a better way to get a fast small business loan. Go to OnDeck.com, and if approved, get your funds as soon as the same day. Your loan is on deck.
Custom Ink helps us motivate our students with custom gear. We love how Custom Ink takes care of everything we need so we can focus on the kids.
We make it easy to wow all your groups with high-quality custom apparel, accessories, and promo products, all backed by our guarantee at CustomInk.com.
Super Beta Prostate is the #1 urologist-recommended prostate supplement. And now, you can find it in every Walmart nationwide. Don't ignore your prostate health. Get Super Beta Prostate.
It's a hard conversation to have. When you die, this is what's going to happen.
Trust and Will makes it really easy and succinct for people to go out there, create their estate plan. It's such an important thing to have. The things and the people that you care about are taken care of.
Create your estate plan at trustandwill.com.
Former President Barack Obama speaking out in his first major speech since the election, addressing voters' rejection of Democrats' messaging on preserving democracy.
The election proved that democracy is pretty far down on people's priority list. And at this moment in history, when core democratic principles seem to be continuously under attack, and when too many people around the world have become cynical and disengaged, now is precisely the time to ask ourselves tough questions about how we can build our democracies and make them work.
Obama also saying that political divisiveness is one of the greatest challenges of our time, urging Democrats to build new coalitions.
Pluralism is not about holding hands and singing Kumbaya. It is not about abandoning your convictions and folding when things get tough. It is about recognizing that in a democracy, power comes from forging alliances and building coalitions and making room in those coalitions, not only for the woke, but also for the waking.
Joining me now is Douglas Brinkley, presidential historian. Doug, it's always so good to see you. I want to get straight out of the gate your reaction to Obama's new remarks. They didn't hit well with me, to be frank. I'm a big fan, but I kind of wanted to get your take on it first.
I think this was President Obama's saying, can't we all get along? He's known in history for, yes, we can. But the real thing he's been framing, Obama, since he's left the White House, is how do you get young people mobilized in our democracy? And particularly in progressive circles, you're dealing with massive demoralization right now with the victory of Donald Trump. And I think his core message, and I don't know whether it was effective or not, you'd have to ask the young people. I think it was aimed at, can you get out there and not give up on America yet? Can you try to find, in many ways, it's an old bipartisan kind of feel. What's going to be curious to me is, will Barack and Michelle Obama be at the inaugural of Donald Trump? That speech he gave today indicated he would. I know Joe Biden and Jill Biden are going, but there's a lot of dissension in progressive ranks that would want to differ with some of what Obama's speech was today. They're in a activist fighting mode, less than let's shake hands across the aisle and rebuild American democracy. People are wounded right now, and I think Obama was trying to be a healer.
Yeah, and I guess. And I respect that, Doug, because I think the problem that I have with what I'm hearing is I think it's just too much of an old school mentality. And it's not because I don't respect former President Obama. I just think this idea of bipartisan working together to move forward, this pluralism idea, requires the other side to also have the decency to want to reach across the aisle to be able to work. And when you vote, and by the way, let's emphasize this, right? It definitely was not a majority, right? There was no huge, overwhelming victory by Donald Trump. But when you have that many people pretty much spitting in your face, I don't think that that's the recipe for what, Obama says, we're not looking for kumbaya, and yet isn't he kind of saying we're looking for kumbaya?
Never forget that Barack Obama was a student of John Lewis, and perhaps his best speech was at Selma. And Lewis and Congress would let you touch his head, where he was beaten over and over again by police. And yet later in his life, he would hug the sheriff who beat him. It's part of a kind of Nobel Prize winning Barack Obama ethos of human rights and let's get together. The most effective part of today was letting some of the young people, I think, have their say, I'm from here and here's what I'm experiencing. And that way, the Democratic Party, as you know, it's split between just what you're saying, that there's a feeling that this old DNC is tired, that these are tropes that President Obama's throwing out there that don't work anymore. But there are others who are saying, let's get some deals done. Let's try to save a wilderness in Oregon, or let's try to save a particular senior citizens home in New York. And that might take a kind of, cross-bonding, cross-fertilization of DNR again. The question is, when does that happen and how does that happen? Is the Democratic Party going to be in a permanent revolt mode against what they see as Trump fascist government? Or are they going to say, look, let's nibble around the edges, because what's a danger is losing young people's hope in America, which will be disastrous, and you'll get more setbacks if LGBTQ or Latino Americans or recent immigrants are utterly demoralized that they don't want to register to vote, let alone even listen to any political rhetoric in the country. Only about 66% of the country votes. And this was not an aspiring election cycle for young people who never caught on the Democratic side, never liked Biden much. Harris did a good job, but didn't get over the finish line. So if you talk to people in their 20s that are climate activists, for example, they are really kind of just they're feeling that it's all a lost cause. And I think Obama was trying to inject some optimism in their sales right now.
Yeah, and I want to clarify, Doug, because you always bring so much thoughtfulness to the table. I'm not suggesting that we give up. In fact, I am suggesting that we put on our fighting hats and we get ready to go out and resist. Douglas Brinkley, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it.
Thank you, as always.
Thanks. And up next, the latest on the ongoing manhunt for the gunman who killed the United Healthcare CEO. After this.
My kids can't hide anything from me.
I'm home.
Especially when they've been using toilet paper that doesn't hold up. Hold it, mister. Here's new Charmin Ultra Strong. It cleans better. You can count on it.
New Charmin Ultra Strong has a diamond weave texture that's more durable. And it cleans better, so you can use less.
Ah, much better.
Hey, you passed the clean test and your mouth test.
Oh, yeah.
We all go. Why not enjoy the go with Charmin?
You founded your kayak company because you love the ocean, not spreadsheets. You need to hire.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Our matching platform lets you spend less time searching and more time connecting with candidates. Visit Indeed.com/hire.
No peeking.
Okay.
Open.
Over 600,000 USPS employees working in sync to ensure everything sent on its holiday ride ends with a moment of joy. The United States Postal Service.
Now's the time to go back in time and shine a light on the family journey that led to you. Learn when they said I do. When they became heroes. How they ruled the school. And what you got from your parents. The places on mom's side and dad's side. Detailed DNA results, inspiring family history memberships. Now's the time to save at Ancestry.
When you're a small business owner, your to-do list can be a lot. That's why Progressive makes it easy to save with a commercial auto quote online, so you can take on all your other to-dos.
Already did.
See if you could save at progressivecommercial.com.
Hey, Ryan Reynolds here for Mint Mobile. One of the perks
directly at the source. Voltaren, the joy of movement.
For gentle, dependable constipation relief, try Senecot. It works differently than other laxatives because it's made from the senna plant, a natural vegetable laxative ingredient. Gentle, dependable Senecot. Also available in delicious gummies.
So what are you thinking?
I'm thinking about our honeymoon. What about Africa? Safari. Hot air balloon ride. Swim with elephants. Wait, can we afford a safari?
Great question. Like everything, takes a little planning.
Or put the money towards a down payment?
On a ranch?
In Montana?
With horses.
Let's take a look at those scenarios.
JP Morgan Wealth Management has advisors in Chase branches and tools like Wealth Plan to help keep you on track. When you're planning for it all, the answer is JP Morgan Wealth Management.
I want to turn to the ongoing manhunt for the person who fatally shot United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. The executive was gunned down in broad daylight Wednesday morning in Midtown Manhattan. Officials saying that it was a pre-planned attack. Police now in their third day of searching for the killer. Now, remember these photos of the person of interest.
When this person is brought to justice.
The NYPD commissioner now saying that they believe the suspect has left New York City after using drones to search Central Park for the suspect earlier today. And one quick programming note. Earlier this week on The Beat, James Carville said that Kash Patel was a former business partner of Tucker Carlson. While Patel has appeared in numerous videos and segments with Carlson, he does not appear to have ever had a formal financial relationship. Coming up next, SNL stars spill the secrets about those legendary after parties.
Hi, my name is Damian Clark. If you have both Medicare and Medicaid, I have some really encouraging news that you'll definitely want to hear. Depending on the plans available in your area, you may be eligible to get extra benefits with the Humana Medicare Advantage Dual Eligible Special Needs Plan. Most plans include the Humana Healthy Options Allowance, a monthly allowance to help pay for eligible groceries, utilities, rent, and over-the-counter items. The Healthy Options Allowance is loaded onto a prepaid card each month, and whatever you don't spend carries over from each month. Plus, your doctor, hospital, and pharmacy may already be part of our large Humana networks. So call the number on your screen now and ask about a Humana Medicare Advantage Dual Eligible Special Needs Plan. And remember, annual enrollment ends on December 7th. Humana, a more human way to healthcare.
Do I smell okay? Why are you shimmying?
Oh, Unstoppables now has odor blocker, so I'll feel fresh all day, even after a red eye.
Yeah, we all use Unstoppables.
Looks like he does too.
Smell unstoppable.
We really don't want people to think of feeding food like ours as spoiling their dogs.
Good, real food is simple. It looks like food. It smells like food. It's what dogs are supposed to be eating.
No living being should ever eat processed food for every single meal of their life.
It's amazing to me how many people write in about their dogs changing for the better. The farmer's dog is just our way to help people take care of them.
Home is where the heart is. It's also the place where it can be broken.
Some bad news. It's Jamie's ship. It was lost at sea. I can protect you, but you must marry me.
What happens now?
If you're shopping for a home, you could browse hundreds of listings to find homes with big yards, or compare lot sizes all at once. Search in full color to find space to grow. Home search will never be the same again.
Someday, an NBC News exclusive. Kristen Welker sits down with President-elect Donald Trump in his first interview since winning the election. From his cabinet picks to his plans for the country, their wide-ranging conversation. Sunday on Meet the Press.
Go beyond the headlines with the MSNBC app. Read, listen, and watch live breaking news and analysis anytime, anywhere. Go beyond the what to understand the why. Download the MSNBC app now.
The best feeling is when we take off our bras. It's not true. So you take off your bra, but then you feel the weight. What's the solution? Honey Love bras are the most comfortable bras I've ever worn. No underwire, so there's never any digging into your skin. There is some boning on the sides, which make it super comfortable and supportive. And one of my favorite parts, no back fat, never. The back straps are so wide and so seamless. I could work out, I could run, I could dance, I could do anything. It's fun, it's beautiful, it's supportive.
Shop our sale now at honeylove.com.
I told y'all to run that. Come on now.
Hey guys, what are you guys doing? How'd you do that? Looks complicated.
Well, it ain't that hard. Joe, tell it, man.
It's easy. Pick more or less on at least 2 players, enter your lineup, and lock in for the game.
I could have told you that. I could have told you that.
Download the PrizePicks app today. Enter $5 and get $50 instantly. PrizePicks, run your game.
Ending the week on a lighter note, New York Magazine recently gathering some of SNL stars to ask them about their most memorable moments from the show's legendary after parties. Here's some of what they were willing to share.
My most memorable SNL after party was RuPaul.
They sat my table right behind Drake's. We formed a camaraderie. He's changed his number since then, but it's all good.
Mick Jagger hosted on the skating rink of 30 Rock.
Getting to do karaoke with the Foo Fighters. I had to look at my phone to know all the lyrics, which Dave Grohl gave me the appropriate amount of for.
That also turned into some kind of party with the Strokes.
There was a bit of a dance-off.
Like, everyone was dancing on tables.
My hair got stuck on Woody Harrelson's sweater button for 20 minutes and we couldn't pull it apart. And then David Blaine came over and ate a wine glass.
We were there till 5 in the morning.
And we would all crawl home to bed.
Seems like they have quite the time. Be sure to catch the Katie Fang Show tomorrow at 12 o'clock Eastern, where I'm going to sit down with John Chu, the director of the blockbuster hit Wicked. Again, that's tomorrow at 12 p.m. Eastern. That does it for me. The Readout with Joy Reid. It's up next.
Tonight on The Readout.
I, Gerald R. Ford, President of the United States, pursuant to the pardon power conferred upon me by Article 2, Section 2 of the Constitution, have granted, and by these presents do grant, a full, free, and absolute pardon unto Richard Nixon.
It was a preemptive pardon that sparked a lot of controversy because President Nixon had likely committed crimes, but hadn't been charged. 50 years later, President Biden considers preemptive pardons for people who have not committed crimes, but are being targeted for punishment anyway by Trump and his incoming Department of Retribution. Also tonight, Trump is reportedly considering an inhuman plan to deport immigrants to countries not their own, where they may not even speak the language. And some of the countries he has in mind are firmly telling him no. But we begin tonight. We begin tonight with the trouble with Donald Trump's national security picks. Among his many controversial and unqualified selections thus far, Tulsi Gabbard, his choice for Director of National Intelligence, looms as perhaps the most concerning of all. That's the message from nearly 100 former national security officials who say they are alarmed at the prospect of Gabbard